राष्ट्रम् अभाषत राजनिर्गम्यतां शीघ्रं पश्येदं भयमागतम्.
Mahatma Vidura knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra, saying, "My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you."
प्रतिक्रिया न यस्येह कुतश्चित् कर्हिचित् प्रभो स एष भगवान् कालः सर्वेषां न समागतः.
This frightful situation cannot be remedied by any person in this material world. My Lord, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as eternal time, Kala, that has approached us all.
येन चैव विपन्नोऽयं प्राणैः प्रियतमैरपि जनः सद्यो वियुज्येत किमुतान्यैः धनादिभिः.
Whoever is under the influence of Supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life, and what to speak of other things, such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home.
पितृभ्रातृसुहृत्पुत्र हतास्ते विगतं वयम् आत्मा च जरया ग्रस्तः परगेहिम् उपाससे.
Your father, brother, well-wishers, and sons are all dead and passed away. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you are living in the home of another.
अन्धःपुरैव बधिरो मन्दप्रज्ञास साम्प्रतं विशीर्णदन्तो मन्दाग्निः परागः कपमुद्वहन्.
You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus.
अहो महीयसि जन्तोः जीविताशायता भवान् भीमा अपवर्जितं पिण्डम् आदत्ते गृहपालवत्.
Alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue his life. Verily, you are living just like a household dog and are eating remnants of food given by Bhima.
अग्निर्निस्पृष्टो दत्तश्च गरोदाराश्च दूषिताः कृतं क्षेत्रं धनं येषां तद्दत्तैः असुभिः कियत्.
There is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you tried to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted one of their wives and usurped their kingdom and wealth.
तस्यापि तव देहोऽयं कृपणस्य जिजीविषोः परैति अनिश्चितो जीर्णो जरया वाससीव.
Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment.
गतस्वार्धम् इमं देहं विरक्तो मुक्तबन्धनः अविज्ञातगतिर्जह्यात् स वै धीर उदाहृतः.
He is called undisturbed who goes to an unknown, remote place and, freed from all obligations, quits his material body when it has become useless.
यस्वकात् परतो वेह जातनिर्वेद आत्मवान् हृदि कृत्वा हरिं गेहात् प्रव्रजेत् शरणोत्तमः.
He is certainly a first-class man who awakens and understands, either by himself or from others, the falsity and misery of this material world and thus leaves home and depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within his heart.
अतो रीतिं दिशं यातु स्वैरज्ञातगतिर्भवान् इतोर्वाक् प्रायशः कालः पुंसां गुणविकर्षणः.
Please, therefore, leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know, for soon that time will approach, which will diminish the good qualities of men.
एवं राजा विदुरे अनुजेन प्रज्ञा चक्षुर्बोधित अजमीडः चित्वा स्वेषु स्नेहपाशान् धडिम्नो निश्चक्रामा भ्रातृ सन्दर्शिताध्व.
Thus, Maharaja Dhritarashtra, the scion of the family of Ajameda, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, Prajna, broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus, he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidura.
पतिं प्रयान्तं सुबलस्य पुत्री पतिव्रता च अनुजगाम साध्वी हिमालयं न्यस्तदण्डप्रहर्षं मन्सीनाम् इव सत्सम्प्रहारः.
The gentle and chastity Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subala and of Kandahar, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the economy.
अजातशत्रुः कृतमैत्रो हुताग्निः विप्रान्नत्वा तिलघो भूमिरुक्मैः गृहं प्रविष्टो गुरुवन्दनाय न च पश्यत् पितरौ सौबलीं च.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Subala.
तत्र सञ्जायमासीनं पप्रच्छो उद्विग्नमानसः गावल्गणे क्व नस्तातो वृद्धो हीनस्य नेत्रयोः.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "O Sanjaya, where is our uncle, who is old and blind?"
अम्बा च हतपुत्रार्ध पितृव्यः क्व गतः सुहृत् अपि मय्यकृतप्रज्ञे हतबन्धुः सभार्यया अशंसमानः श्यामलं गङ्गायां दुःखितो अपतत्.
Where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidura, and Mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he, therefore, take my offences very seriously and, along with his wife, drown himself in the Ganges?
पितरि उपरते पाण्डौ सर्वार्णः सुहृदः शिशून् अरक्षतां व्यसनतः पितृव्यो क्व गतापितः.
When my father, Pandu, fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where have they gone from here?
सूत उवाच कृपया स्नेहवैक्लव्यात् सूतो विरहकर्षितः आत्मेश्वरम् अचक्षानो न प्रत्याह अतिपीडितः.
Suta Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjaya, not having seen his own master, Dhritarashtra, was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
विमृज्याश्रूणि पाणिभ्यां विष्टभ्यात्मनमात्मना अजातशत्रुं प्रत्योचे प्रभोः पादावनुस्मरन्.
First, he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence, and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
संजय उवाच नाहं वेद व्यवसितं पित्रोर्वः कुलनन्दन गान्धर्व्या वा महाबाहो मुहितोऽस्मि महात्मभिः.
Sanjaya said, "My dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls."
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you for the recitations. It was very nice. So, Jyoti Mataji, am I co-host now?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, you are host now.
Okay, thank you. So let me share my screen. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So today we are going to discuss about Vidura giving advice. After Vidura's advice, what happened afterwards and what was the reasoning behind it. So we will start now. Give me 1 second. I need to mute some of the chats. Yeah, okay. So we'll start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Yam Pravrijeta Manupe Tamapeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tar Aju Ava Putreti Tanmayatayo Tarvo Vinedus Tamsaro Bhuta Rudayam Munimanatosmi. So we will be discussing 31, 32 and 33rd verse from the 13th chapter of the first canto. Let's chant the verses and we will go through the purports. It's quite elaborate because there is a lot to learn from these verses. So let's start. Ajata Shatruh Krutamaitro Hutagnir Vipranatva Tilago Bhumirukmaihi Graham Pravishto Guruvandanaya Nachapashyat Pitaro Saubalimcha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Maharaj Yudhishthir, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Subala. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing, they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the Brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc., and at last offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisances. One who is not prepared to practice injunction. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bad tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Maharaj Yudhishthir, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Subala. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sanjay, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra. So let's go to the next verse. Tatra Sanjayam Asinam Prapecho Dvignamanasah Gaval Gane Nastato Vruddho Hinascha Netrayoh. Maharaj Yudhishthir, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjay, who was sitting there, and said, O Sanjay, where is our uncle, who is old and blind? Let's go to verse number 33. Amba chahata putrartha pitruvyah kwa gatah surut apimayye mayya kruta pradne hatabandhu sabharyaya asham samanah shamalam gangayam dukkhitopatat. Where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidur, and Mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was very mortified due to the death of his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offences very seriously and along with his wife drown himself in the Ganges? Purport. The Pandavas, especially Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjun, anticipated the after effects of the battle of Kurukshetra, and therefore Arjun declined to execute the fighting.
Where is
The fight
nice?
was executed by the will of the Lord, but the effects of family agreement and they, as they had thought of it before, had come to be true. Maharaj Yudhishthir was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhritarashtra and aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in their old age and aggrieved conditions. When, therefore, he could not find his uncle and aunt in the palace, naturally his doubts arose, and he conjectured that they had gone down to the water of Ganges. He thought himself ungrateful because when the Pandavas were fatherless, Maharaj Dhritarashtra had given them all royal facilities to live, and in return he had killed all Dhritarashtra's sons in the battle of Kurukshetra. As a pious man, Maharaj Yudhishthir took into account all his unavoidable misdeeds, and he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. Dhritarashtra had suffered the effects of his own misdeeds by the will of the Lord, but Maharaj Yudhishthir was thinking only of his own unavoidable misdeeds. That is the nature of a good man and devotee of the Lord. A devotee never finds faults with others, but tries to find his own and thus rectify them as far as possible. Yeah, there's a lot to discuss today. So let's start our Mangala Charana and then we will start. Om Adnyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sa Advaitam Sa Avadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। अजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावधातौ सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणा अवतारौ यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयत्य अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणाश्रवणात् त्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। So the first verse is Ajata Shatruh Kritamaitro Hutagnir Viprannatva Tilago Bhumirukmaihi Graham Pravishto Guruvandanaya Nachapashyat Pitarau Saubalimcha. The meter of this particular shloka is something I'm not really able to figure it out, so we can't really sing that properly. If anyone knows, then they can maybe teach me. So Ajata Shatru, that means the word here Ajata Shatru, here, that means the person whose enemy was never born, who cannot have any enemy. Who is that person? Maharaj Yudhishthira. Krita, having performed, and Maitra, worshipping the demigods. So we can see the quality of Yudhishthir Maharaj here. It's the whole verse, the purport, everything Prabhupada has very beautifully explained the Vedic culture. Maharaj Yudhishthir is not worshipping the demigods because he wants something. It is not the puja of the demigods. He is doing that because it's out of respect. Put Agnihi, offering fire, fuel in the fire. As the Vedic culture or the tradition is, because it is always a culture of reciprocation. Whatever we get from someone, we always try to give it back. And what is the famous verse from Upadeshamrut for that? Dadati pratigrihanati guhyam akhyati pruchhati bhunte bhojayate chaiva shadvidham pritilakshanam. So what's the meaning of that? Dadati pratigrihanati. We always give the gifts to somebody and we accept the gift as it's the reciprocation of loving exchange. Guhyam akhyati pruchhati. We open our heart with the devotee, whomever you confide in, and they will tell their secrets. They will open their hearts. For example, if someone wants to talk about how is my sadhana happening, how is my what are all the hurdles I'm facing because of my material understand or spiritual and material misunderstandings, where things are going wrong. So that kind of a loving exchange is confidentially you are discussing something with the devotees. Guhyam akhyati pruchhati, listening to someone else's details and then opening your heart to that other person. So the guhyam akhyati pruchhati. Bhunte bhojayate chaiva. So that means offering prasad to someone and bhojayate, and then accepting prasad. So exchanging the food stuff, the prasadam among devotees. So those 6 loving exchanges, and that is the demigods are also devotees. So that is why Maharaj Yudhishthir is worshipping the demigods. That is out of respect. It's a sign of reciprocation. So that's the purpose behind here. Huta Agnihi, and how he's doing that? By offering fuel in the fire. What is that fuel is called? Ahuti. And the specific type of sticks of certain wood or the bushes and all that, it is called Samidha. Vipran, the Brahmanas. And then, because Brahmanas are giving guidance to the society, they are the head of the society, they are giving the education, developing the culture of the society. So that's why they should be taken care of, because they are the actually advisors to the Kshatriyas. And that is why he is offering obeisances to them, and then he is giving them the dan for their welfare. Obviously, the true Brahmana will never keep everything, they won't hoard, they won't just accumulate everything. If any Brahman gets more than required, then usually they distribute among others. And that's the culture. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is following the culture here. Tila go bhumi rukmaihi, along with grains, cows, land, and gold. So tila or sesame is specifically mentioned here because it is considered to be, since time immemorial, sesame is considered a very, very rich, it is a complete food. And that is just mentioned here as tila go bhumi rukmihi. Go means cow, bhumi means the land, and rukmihi means gold. Graham, within the palace, pravishtaha, having entered into, and then Guru Vandanaya. So offering obeisances to your spiritual master, Guru Vandanaya. And spiritual master maybe are obviously, when child is growing, then they get guidance from the elderly people, their father, mother, uncles, everybody, and that's where he's following that culture, offering respect to elderly members. And then what happened, that's what we are coming here. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Subala. So if we go through this purport here, he was the most pious king, but he was completely detached. And we will come to the story with the background of what the glory of Maharaj Yudhishthir, the Pandavas, and what happened earlier. So the householders are required to rise early in the morning. If we read the description of when Pandavas were in exile, that Vanavas, when they were in the forest, what was the routine followed by them? They used to get up early in the morning, perform their rituals, live a very austere, very simple life. Last time we looked at the verse, Tapodivyam putraka yana sattvam shuddheti yasmat brahma saukhena tvanandam. Maharaj Rishabdev has given advice to his 10 sons when Maharaj Rishabdev was going to retire. Before his retirement, when he was saying that, now what, O sons, what you have to follow? He said, Tapodivyam putraka, very divine austerities you are supposed to follow. Yena sattvam, in the mode of goodness. Shuddhet yasmat brahma saukhena. What will happen? Because of that, you will get purified. Brahma saukhya. And then you will reach that level of happiness, that spiritual happiness, because you are performing everything as a devotional service to the Lord. Brahma saukhena tvanandam. And it is unlimited bliss you will experience. That's what Maharaj Rishabdev was telling it to his 10 sons, Bharat, Kutsa, and all those. It's there in the 5th canto. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is following that, and where he has got all the Brahma Saukhyam Tvanantam, the base of that. Obviously, he's a Dharmaraj. He knows the Shastras perfectly, but he has been trained by whom? His father, of course, Pandu, then Bhishma Dev, and he got advice and guidance from all the great teachers. And after bathing, they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers. So that, what does this include? Rise early in the morning, and then take a bath, offer respects to the deities. That means deity worship, and standards of the deity worship needs to be followed at home. By offering fuel in the sacred fire, that means that is about this part, worshipping the demigods, because fuel in the sacred fire, that means he is offering the samidha, the ahuti. By giving the brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold. When brahmanas are happy, they will give the advice properly, and when they are happy, the society will flourish. And at last, offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisances. So due respects is not very dry. Due respect is it's like a there is a category of disciples: the first class disciple, second class disciple. What is the first class disciple need not have to be told what he or she needs to do. Just they're so vigilant, they're so eager to serve, that they will read the mind of the spiritual master, they will read the mind of their elders, they will read the mind of the seniors, and they will, without giving any instruction, they will start following the right practice, and they will make sure that all the Vaishnavas are pleased, the surrounding is proper. So that is the first class disciple, and that's what Yudhishthir Maharaj is doing here. So he is following the principle of how that first class disciple should be. And I think I lost the connection. Is it visible now, the screen?
Yes,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Okay. Sorry, last few days there is a lot of road works in our area, and that is why probably the cables are a bit unstable, and that's, or the internet connection is a bit unstable because cables have been moving here and there. So that's probably the issue. So let's come back to our discussion again. So we were talking about offering respects to your elders, your spiritual master, and to brahmanas, giving them what they need: land, cows, grains, gold. That is the charity in a mode of goodness. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. So, the difference between jnana and vijnana is jnana means just gain the knowledge. Means book wise, yes, I know what is written on page number 33 of this book, and even at the middle of the night, I can tell you what's written in that book. That's just an information. That's just you know what is written there. So that's not a. So it's a very dry knowledge. Second part of knowledge is you can speak, you can explain, you can understand why, when, where, all the background behind this. So that is knowledge. So the vidya means you have a desire to gain the knowledge, and because of that desire, when you have gained the knowledge, that is called jnana. But that jnana is not enough. When person actually follows that knowledge, practices that knowledge, so first part is being aware of what is there in the scriptures. Second part is changing the attitude of, yes, I need to do something. So our mindset we are going to change. So that is the second part, awareness, attitude, and the third part is changing the practices. So changing the practices means you realize that knowledge, and that is vijnana. Because there is austerity. We talked about that verse, the Podivyam Putraka, because you follow the austerities, you follow the penances, and because of it, that there is a purification, and that purification imbibes the practices in our day-to-day life. So that is the knowledge which is being referred here. So one who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. Prabhupada is so beautifully and such a perfect wording he's giving here is what we are supposed to follow. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life. In Kali Yuga, most of the people follow the mode of ignorance and maybe mode of passion. So they work hard. Rupa Goswami says, Bhoga Tyaga. We work hard 5 days a week, yes, till Friday evening, left, right, center, too much of work. And then Saturday, Sunday, lot of enjoyment. So that is Bhoga. And then we give everything for our daily work. Eat very less nutritious food, not in a proper way. Keep running around since morning till evening, because our bank balance, the whole money has to be there in the account. I'm not an exception to that anyway. So that's what the Bhoga Tyaga situation in the Kali Yuga is. So namely to rise late and then take bed tea. Of course, we don't take bed tea, and I'm sure none of us rise that late. Either because we are following certain practices or sometimes out of compulsion as well because of the modern lifestyle, without any sort of cleanliness. And it's very important here because the purificatory practices, as mentioned above, that sometimes there are a lot of excuses because of climatic conditions or anything else. People do not follow certain purificatory practices like looking after our body properly, and cleaning process, everything else. Obviously, that becomes the culture, that becomes the lifestyle of the house, and the children will learn the same thing. Why? Of course, we have to purify our senses, and purification of senses starts with the external cleanliness. Once it's around maybe around 12 or 13 years back, I was sitting in a temple room in a manor, and His Holiness Bhakticharu Maharaj was giving a class, and that time, for some reason, Bhakticharu Maharaj was such a grand personality. He was he had that very soft heart, very amazing gesture of love in every moment. He was grand. So I was sitting there in that class, and Maharaj gave a beautiful class on Chaitanya Charitamrita, and at the end he said that I want all of you to follow one very, very important principle. And there were certain people, maybe I was also there, many other people there. He could see through what everyone was, and because of course they are all great personalities, they are Paramahamsas, so they can. And he said that I want all of you to understand the importance of cleanliness. He said external cleanliness is so essential that Prabhupada was very, very particular about it. our temples should be spotlessly clean. And then he said, your house should also be spotlessly clean. When external cleanliness is there, automatically our mind starts getting trained that now I need to be very neat, tidy, clean. And then he said that with that cleanliness, we find reasoning that Lord is there at our home, Lord is there in the temple, and Lord is there in my heart. And then Maharaj said that with that external cleanliness, automatically we should keep tuning our mind that externally Lord is there, internally is also He is there. And my only responsibility is to worship the Lord. And that is why we need to work on our internal cleanliness, working on our the Shadripu, lust, anger, greed, illusion, all that. His words were so powerful, so impactful. The whole temple room, which was full, people were almost couldn't speak a single word for quite some time. And though he said what everyone thinks and what are there any questions, when he explained such a beautiful, detailed explanation about the cleanliness, internal and external. And even today, I remember very vividly how much emphasis he was giving on cleanliness. So that is Prabhupada's mission, his what do you call, his emphasis on cleanliness, and it is coming from one of his most beloved disciples, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Goswami Maharaj. And then Prabhupada says here, and without any purificatory practices, as mentioned above, and this is our modern householders, what Prabhupada is describing here. If the same legacy goes to the children, the household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards the hell. There is one verse, Lord Brahma offers the prayer in the 3rd canto, and it's a very beautiful prayer. So it's in that context actually what Bhakti Charu Maharaj has advised, has instructed us that how the importance of cleanliness. Why? Because there is Lord inside, Paramatma within us, and there is Lord outside in the form of deity and many other forms, all these opulences and everything. And we are just here to take care of that. We are just guests here. I wish I could spend a lot of time and give all the details what Bhakti Charu Maharaj was telling at that time. So the verse or the prayer by Lord Brahma is Tadva idam bhuvana mangala mangalaya dhyanes mano darshitam ta upasakanam tasmai namo bhagavate nuvidhema tubhyam yona druto naraka bhagbhir asat prasangaihi. It's a very beautiful prayer. Tadva idam bhuvana mangala mangalaya. What Lord Brahma says is, wherever your presence is, bhuvana mangala mangalaya. Wherever we can feel, we understand, we see your presence, we should always worship you. Dhyanesmano darshitam ta upasakanam. Our objective, our dhyana, our focus should be looking for you or your presence, feel your presence, your opulences everywhere. Darshitam ta upasakanam. And that should be our upasana. So looking for you everywhere. Tasmai namo bhagavate nuvidhema tubhyam. To that Bhagavan, to that Supreme Lord, all the facilities we have, nuvidhema tubhyam. We should be follow and we should be worshipping you with every single facility we have with us. Yona druto naraka bhagbhir asat prasangaihi. The person who does not understand that everything belongs to you and you are there in every speck of our life. But the person who does not understand that person is making their way to hell. Yona druto naraka bhagbir. Naraka means hell. Asat prasangaihi. And then they do not understand the importance, the value of what Lord Brahma has described in the first 3 lines. That those people are going towards, they are making their way towards hell. And that's what Prabhupada is explaining here, that why we should have that practice of cleanliness, practice of certain daily chores of, and why the focus should be always on our spiritual upliftment and enhancement. So, and then nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Yeah? Here, the sadhu is Vidura. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lessons from sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Vidura is none other than who? He is the Yamraj, he is a Dharmaraj, and he will give the perfect advice to anyone. So when Yamaraj gives the advice, that advice is spotless because he's a Mahajan, he's a pure devotee of the Lord. Maharaj Yudhishthir, however, could not find in the palace his 2 uncles. So we can see how such a great soft-hearted personality Maharaj Yudhishthir is. Despite of all the rough times all the 5 Pandavas have gone through, and Maharaj Yudhishthir, in the absence of the father, the elder brother in the family takes the position of father. We discussed that verse, Apipala Dharmaraja, Pitruvat Ranjan Praja. So Maharaj Yudhishthir takes the ownership, the responsibility, especially when things go wrong. They take that responsibility, the elder brother of the family. However, could not find in the palace his 2 uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura. So he's so forgiving, towards Dhritarashtra, because Dhritarashtra never wanted Maharaj Yudhishthir to succeed. He was always making plans so that his son Duryodhan will become king. So coming back to that story, when Duryodhan was born, Vidura could easily see the future of this child because he is a personification of Kali, the Duryodhan. He had that greed, the anger, the envy, all 100%. And Vidura said to Dhritarashtra to get rid of this child immediately. And Dhritarashtra couldn't accept that advice. He was so attached to Duryodhan. And Vidura was always giving the correct, right advice because he is a perfect well-wisher. He had no personal intention. Though he was insulted by Duryodhan so many times, and before the war as well, he was heavily insulted because he was telling Dhritarashtra that I was telling you that this boy is because of this, your son, Duryodhan, this whole, he is going to cause the destruction of the whole family. And we can see that because of him, Draupadi was insulted so badly, so humiliated, such an abominable, horrible thing, because he was showing his thigh, and then Dushasan, and we know the story. Because of him, Karna, who had a demoniac tendencies, but it was enhanced. The association of Duryodhan made Karna even a bigger demon. Obviously, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari was also blinded because of that son's love towards her son, the daughter of King Subala, which is current Afghanistan, Subala Desh, and he was anxious to see them, and therefore asked Sanjay, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra, So we can see here that Maharaj Yudhishthir, despite of all the miscreants and all the misdeeds done by Dhritarashtra, still he was a well-wisher. He was such a soft-hearted person. Why? Because he was the follower of the dharma, perfect follower of the dharma. Not only in terms of the rituals which are described here in the purport, but overall his consciousness was in a proper mode of goodness. So let's go to the next verse. And yeah, Maharaj Yudhishthir, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjay, who was sitting there, and said, where is our uncle who is old and blind? Yeah. And here Arjun and Maharaj Yudhishthir, as we saw earlier, when their 5 sons were killed by Ashwatthama, and we went through that whole episode in a fair details. So what does that indicate? At that time as well, along with Draupadi, Yudhishthir Maharaj and Arjun, they were not in a they were not in a right, they were in such a perfect consciousness that they were saying, let's forgive Ashwatthama. Such a perfect example of a devotee. And we can see that in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita itself, that Arjun has predicted what's going to happen. Lupta Pindo, the Kriya, and women will be exploited when after this war and everything. And then the second chapter, Lord starts about what is his duty. So what is the verse? Krishna said to Arjun that despite of all this, why this war is necessary and no one is going to die. He said that later on in the 27th verse, Jatasya dhruvo mrityur dhruvam jannamritasya cha tasmad paryaryerthe natum shochitum arhasi. Don't lament. Yeah. Okay. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. And therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Why he said that? Because Arjun was giving all the reasonings, all the justifications why he should not fight. And externally, in the point of Dharma Shastra, those justifications are right. And we can, as Prabhupada writes here, Arjuna declined to execute the fighting. The fight was executed by the will of the Lord, as we just saw in that verse. But the effects of family agreement, as they had thought of it before, had come to be true. Maharaj Yudhishthir was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhritarashtra and Aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in the old age and aggrieved conditions. So thus that Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjun's soft-heartedness. When therefore he could not find his uncle and aunt in the palace, naturally his doubts arose that he conjectured that they had gone down to the water of Ganges. And here Arjuna's statement that all the helpless people from the kingdom will be sad, and they will not find a shelter. And that was his statement in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He thought of himself ungrateful because when the Pandavas were fatherless, Maharaj Dhritarashtra had given them all the royal facilities to live. So still Maharaj Dhritarashtra, at that time as well, he did not want Pandavas to be the king. If we read Mahabharata, there is always a mixed sentiment in the mind of Dhritarashtra. He's giving the facilities but he wants his sons to continue ruling the kingdom, and he wanted to be the king, though he was not eligible, as I think we have seen in the earlier verses. Of course, all the sons of Dhritarashtra. Anyone? Was someone speaking or? Okay. So when Draupadi was insulted, at that time Bhima took the oath that I will kill all 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, all 100, Duryodhan and all his 99 brothers. I will kill them. And he followed that. He killed all the sons of Dhritarashtra in the battle of Kurukshetra. He was such a powerful man. And here, as a pious man, Maharaj Yudhishthira took into account all the unavoidable misdeeds. He never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. The killing, the attempt to kill in the Lakshagriha, in the palace made of resins, was created so that all the Pandavas and their mother Kunti Devi will be killed, and that was the idea of Duryodhan. Dhritarashtra was aware of it, but he did not stop his son. What is that? Cannibals. Cannibals were asked to kill Pandavas and eat them, but Bhima killed all the cannibals. Then there was a poisoned cake given to Bhima, and we know the story that Bhima went towards the Vibhavari, and he received the benedictions and the weapons from Varuna Dev and later on from Vayudev. So all, and then of course Draupadi is insulted and get the exile in the forest, incognito for 1 year and 12 years in the forest. Everything, Dhritarashtra was aware of it, and he could have ordered not to do it, but instead Dhritarashtra says in Mahabharata that now, and even after, now, oh, you sons of Pandu, you have followed so many austerities, and now you know how to beg and live, so you be like that. So that was the consciousness of Dhritarashtra. And that's why Prabhupada is writing here. Dhritarashtra had suffered the effects of his own misdeeds by the will of the Lord. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was thinking only of his own unavoidable misdeeds, which were actually not. But that is the greatness of Maharaj Yudhishthira. That is the nature of a good man and a devotee of the Lord. A devotee never finds faults with others, but tries to find his own and thus rectify them as far as possible. Lot to learn, lot to take away from these purports and this incident. I think we will stop here. Are there any questions or comments or any additions from anyone? No questions, no comments, no sound from anybody, because only I am talking since the beginning. So
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please can you accept my humble obeisances of the trust of God. Thank you, Prabhuji. Lots of explanation here, lots of examples of cleanliness, and how you explain how Maharaj was giving the class. Yeah, it's in some families it doesn't even exist as it is written here. People will just have tea in bed and not shower. It is prominent nowadays, but thankfully to our movement, we know a little bit about cleanliness. It is also said in the English saying goes, cleanliness is next to godliness, but it's just kind of a saying in their society. It's just a saying in the air. But for us, we know and we use it. We know in the morning, first thing, take a bath, and then do little bit of following on the footstep of Maharaj Yudhishthir. We are not giving, we don't have brahmanas to give charity, we don't, but still we are paying obeisances to the deities. We are doing some little puja at home or whatever, which is good. And here, yes, Maharaj Yudhishthir is giving good examples, and you have kind of picked from different books and you have brought to us. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It was very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, for bringing that point. What I realized in since I was introduced to ISKCON till now, that Prabhupada has given us the sadhana in such a way that when it comes to just following the books blindly, then we will get bewildered. Because if someone goes through a book like Haribhakti Vilas, it is very detailed, and following the rituals that like Rupa Goswami says, that Srila Rupa Goswami Pad says that niyama agraha means following the niyama, the rules, just for the sake of it is not conducive for the spiritual practice, is not good for bhakti. Not following any niyama agraha is also not good. So we have to find the balance. And interesting enough, if we just look at our Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti chart, what we follow every day, what Prabhupada has given us is very, very easy to follow, relatively easy to follow the process. Get up early in the morning. He hasn't given up very hard timing for grihasthas, those who are brahmacharis following the austerities in the temple. Yes, they have to get up early, 4:30 Mangalarti and then everything else. But for us who is the working class, the grihasthas, yes, getting up fairly early in the morning, taking a shower, and then start our chanting. The people who are Brahman initiated, they do the Gayatri at their as per their clock. And once we finish our rounds, or at least finish most of the rounds of our chanting, then we start our work. And that work is in such a way that it is also in a right consciousness, because we do it as a service to our family and to the Lord. And as in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada very beautifully explains that whatever we earn, that comes with karmic reactions, and that is why the sadhana as well as the purification of that money is very essential. So some part of that money we are supposed to give for the right cause. We should do the charity. What is the charity? In ISKCON, there are so many projects, or whomever, wherever you know, in a mode of goodness, as Bhagavad Gita explains, that we should purify the money we earn. If we don't purify, we are responsible for the karmic reactions coming with that money. And then in the evening, take prasadam together, work together for our purification, for our sadhana. Whenever possible, chant together, read together. If not always together, at least we make sure that we listen to the lectures, to the or read Prabhupada's books. So the whole day, it goes in such a way that it revolves around the spiritual practice. And someday, if we go to the temple morning till evening, if we do our services, have prasadam there, that is like a celebration. So such a beautiful facility Prabhupada has given, that those temples are the meeting places that's for spiritual enrichment, and at home we have our temples, our altar, and we follow our sadhana. So that's what we are supposed to follow, the followers of Prabhupada and eventually Rupa Goswami. So yes, thank you Mataji for bringing that point. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, okay, I should check the. Okay, thank you, Sumadhura Radhika Mataji, for your encouragement. Thank you very much. So, if there are no more questions, we will stop here. Unless, is there any? I just heard some sound. If not, then we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Vaishnavebhyo
Thank you,
namo
Prabhuji.
namaha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Okay.